Hey everybody, I'm Danny and you're here at Spinning Earth Pottery. And this next video we're going to do is going to be on how I set up my carving. Okay, so I've got two examples. I've got a long, very tall bottle, and then I also have a very wide vase. And just because the setup, it alters a little bit on each one, and I do kind of a simple pattern on the bottle, and then I'm just going to call it less simple. It's still a pretty simple pattern on the wider piece, but it shows you, I guess, for some reason or other, how I figure things out and just kind of work it out, just having fun making different patterns. And so with that, I got that going on, and I'm speaking to you having already edited the video. And in it several times, so this is a builder square, and I use it to get my straight lines on my piece. And there's several times in the video where I refer to it as a level. Okay, I don't know why I did that. Mostly because I was also thinking of the laser level that I'm going to be using later on. But so when I'm referring to this as a level, it's not a level. This is a builder square, okay? It's 2 feet this way, 1.5 feet this way, and this is what I like using for describing my vertical lines. So that's all the vocabulary words I have for you today, and now we're gonna get started with the video, and here we go. All right, so I've got a piece here that I think I make this from probably 8 pounds, 6 ounce pack of clay, something like that. Anyway, it's a decent sized vase. And to begin with, one of the things that I use, a tool that I use to segment clay with is this, okay? MKM Pottery Tools is who makes this. And these are, it's a plastic disc, and it's been divided up in a color-coded manner, which takes a tiny bit of understanding, but not a lot, okay? You got 4, 6, 8, and 10. So and when you get this, it comes in a set of 2. So this is the even, and then there's an odd. So if you want to do 3s, 5s, 7s, I don't know how you mean dividing something into 7. I would absolutely need something like this. So this is like 4 in the green. So then I got 4 greens, right? But then I got a blue also is 6, and so it's also going to be my green, and then my 6 is the blue over here when it's all by itself. That's when it overlaps with the green again. 8 and 10, and so that's kind of how this works. You get it kind of figured out pretty quickly, and it's not a struggle. So I've got basically it's got these concentric rings here, you know, all the way to the outside, and it allows you to put your piece pretty closely. I like to get over it and center it. This is also nice for, this tool is also nice for, you know, if you're doing bowls and you want to like crimp it at the exact right part or make cuts or whatever, you can, you know, lay it across the bowl, and the concentric rings really help you get it centered quickly also. So what I'll do now is I'm going to put quite a few, so like 10 is the most I've got on this this particular piece. And so I'm going to, so if I go 10, here's 10, and here is 10. And so if I make a mark here, and I make a mark here, that's pretty far apart, and I actually want to be closer than that. And so what I have to do is decide how far apart I want these marks to be. And so what I do, this is a framing square, and you know, it's a big tool. You don't need quite this much, but it's just kind of handy to use. I've got it just in the wood shop behind me. So I'm going to just go ahead and make one mark all the way up this piece, okay? Because I know I'm going to need at least one line on this, all right? So there's my line. If I'm going to do this where I make, so there's 10. If I do that, I'll get 10 lines throughout the entire piece, right? Now, I want my lines to be closer than that, my grid. And so what I would want to do is split that in half, which is about there. And so I got to ask myself if that's about the separation I want. If it isn't, I can go to 8, and I can do 8 here, and it'll put a mark there, and then I can split that in half, and that's going to give me about this. It'll give me way too big of a segment. Okay, so right there is 8, and then here is my original line. So halfway in between there is going to leave almost an inch, and that's more than I want. So I'm going to go with the 10. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scribe all the way up this. Now what I'm using here is just a piece of wood. It's essentially sharpened to a dull point, okay? Now what I'm making scratches in this. If you're wanting to have like a Celadon on this thing, you got to rub the scratches out, and it's kind of a bore. By the time I get done with this, I rub everything down to knock my edges down, and then I spray it with a textured slip, and so it really does cover everything, and I'm not really worried about having a bunch of lines on this piece. So just, whoops, gotta get my piece closer than that. There's a 10. There's a 10. And back to 10. Okay, so now what I want to do is turn this half a 10 basically. So here's my line right there, and I'm going to want to turn it. I'm going to want to turn it basically to where that my piece of wood is. So that's going to go just like that. And I'm going to kind of look around and see that everything is looking pretty good. I'm going to get over the top of it again and look down and make sure I'm still in the middle of my, I'm looking at this ring right here and just looking down over the piece to see that that ring is evenly, this piece is evenly spaced in this. And then I can even look here. There's a mark there, and there's a mark there where, right, those two marks there, and I can see my line that from my previous scribing is exactly in between those two marks. And so I kind of double checked myself in a couple ways, and I feel pretty satisfied we're close enough here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this off at 10 all the way around. And what this is going to do is segment this vase into 20. Okay, that's now segmented in 20 lines, and I'm done with this with the framing square. So now, and I'm also done with the segmenting tool. Okay, next what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my horizontal lines on here. Now to do that, what I use is a compass, and it's got what I like about this. This is a really nice drafting compass. You know, the kind that you get at the the Walmart or something, you know, for grade school. Those work if they're as long as they're stiff enough. But what I love about this is that it's got a screw essentially on it that sets it, and it you can't wiggle, it can't move, it stays in wherever you set it. And what I do is I want squares here, so I'm simply going to measure the distance that I have from line to line. Now, you know, I did all that, you know, trying to segment this out, basically eyeballing it, and it's close, okay? Some of these are a little bit off from one another, but they're all really, really close. Especially up here at the top where it kind of tapered in a little bit and my level wasn't exactly next to it, but we are right on right there. Okay, so what this does is this gives me a square now, and what I'll do is you got to find where you want to start and where you want to, basically kind of where you want to stop. It's going to kind of end up at a certain point down here. But I like to come down off my shoulder a little bit and kind of free from that shoulder, and come on. I'm gonna, hold on, let me get this thing centered. Okay, so we're gonna get an initial line. Now, I'm gonna get you in really close here. And what's difficult here is being able to see it well enough, close enough. Okay, so you can see the lines that I'm making now. And I'm going to back it off just a hair more. Can you still see them? Yeah, you can still see them. Okay. So what I'll do, I got that initial line from this point, and then I'll let the bottom come along in there and create a line. And now I'm just going to keep doing that all the way down. Oops, I was drifting a bit. I was thinking of something else. Okay, so that's got that going pretty well. So at this point, I am ready to carve. Now, it's sitting a little, this wheel hasn't been raised up or anything, and the wheel head, you know, it's got some tension on it from, you know, just being connected to a motor. So what I really like doing is getting a banding wheel in here and getting this piece up on a banding wheel. Next step. Okay, so this is a diamond core tool, and these do pretty well. If the clay's hard, they can break. I've found they cut better than a trimming tool, simply because these are not sharp, they're thin. There's a big difference, okay? They haven't been sharpened at all, I don't believe. It's just that they're super thin, and so that's why if you get into really hard clay, if your clay's a little too past the point of where you'd like to carve it, and it's hard, you can break them. Other than that, they work pretty well. They take a little getting used to because they cut differently than a trimming tool. But I have really enjoyed using them. So essentially what I do now is I use this grid to hit my marks, okay? So I've got a corner here, a corner here, corner here, corner here, corner here, corner here on all these squares. And essentially I am just going to just try to keep hitting those marks. Now, I actually like the way this looks and feels free-handed. They get a little off sometimes. I've seen the people that are printing these things out on CNC machines or Cricuts or whatever it is that they're using that are computer generated, and they look machined, and they're actually cool as well. But it has that machined look and feel to it, and I don't really want that with my work. So I'm going to, I freehand this. Sometimes they get a little crazy. Sometimes my mind drifts, and so does the tool. And so that's when that's happening. Okay, but I can't talk when I do this, okay? I actually am concentrating a bit. And so this will be a lot of silence. So what I'll do here is there's my corner, there's my corner, there's my corner, there's my corner. I'm going to just kind of do a practice run and get my timing, because what I'll do is I turn this while I'm going, and then I try to do it basically in one motion all the way down to my bottom. All right? Wish me luck. Okay, that's how that's supposed to go. All right, I struggled a little bit when I got down here because I was running out of room to get to my bottom because of the angle of my tool. So I'm going to make a little bit of an adjustment if I can find something to adjust with. So this is just a mug I've got sitting in the studio that's very squarish in shape. And when I say squarish, it's got, you know, straight sides and a pretty wide bottom. So that'll allow my piece to move somewhat freely. It's better. Problem is it's not sitting on there square. I'd like it if it was sitting on there more squarely. Okay, we're real close. So now what I'll do is I can cheat. It's not cheating, right? I'll do my next one here, and not only am I hitting those marks, but I can peripherally, is that a word? See this as well, and it kind of helps keep me on track, all right? So here we go again. my timer went off on my phone and disrupted the video that was going on. But I think you guys kind of got the picture. I had like about 4 more lines left to carve. And now I've got you switched. That you were on the right-hand side, and I was using my right hand. Now you're over on the left-hand side, and now I'm going to use my left hand. I didn't really ever think about being ambidextrous until I started doing videos, and people would ask me if I was. And I guess I can't deny it because I use both hands. So it comes in handy, pardon the pun, to be able to use both hands. I don't know what it's like not to. So I'm switching to my left hand and I'm doing the exact same activity, except instead of having these long curly lines coming off, I'm gonna have all these little chips. Now, I'm gonna point you back down here. And you can see, just like at first glance, these are not parallel lines. These are not what you would call straight lines. Some of them, that one got a little crazy right there, but only because it went wide here and wide here, which makes it narrow here and narrow here, which accentuates the whole flaw, if you want to call it that. I'm not stressing over it. By the time I get these rubbed down and sprayed down, fired, and ground with diamond discs, it all works. And that's what I like about it. So with that, I'm just going to begin again. Now, if you stuck with me on that last time, that's amazing. It would be twice as amazing if you watched this whole thing. I would probably hit the fast button once I saw what was going on. This one's going to stay on my wider piece. I'm going to put a little bit more of a pattern into it. Not crazy, but just a little bit. This one's just going to cross and create basically a diamond pattern on this whole thing. So here I go. Doing a practice run first. Just getting my motion down. It's definitely not as gratifying as the long ribbons, I have to admit. Okay, that is that. And whoa, yeah, getting some big ones in there. But what I like about this is that it's just an overall way to give some interest to the body. And when I overspray this, it really changes how it looks a lot, and creates a more dynamic form than just leaving it plain. So anyway, there's that, and now we're going to shift on to the wide belly. All right, so here's the piece we're going to do now. And I'm going to get my little scribe, and I'm going to do the same process. We're going to divide this into 20 also. And so what I'm going to do now, a little bit different, I guess it's not exactly the same process. I'm going to make a mark. And I'm actually going to turn this over. Because I think it might be, nope, it won't be more simple. Always trying to do it the easiest way. I'm only trying to get a mark. I gotta get down here where I can see better. How's that? And that'll make me happy. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm just gonna make a mark because I can't use the level when it's this wide. Okay, so once again, just going to shift it to where I'm housies. Pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to make marks again on my half point. I could almost eyeball this. In fact, I know I could eyeball this, but in fact, I am eyeballing this basically. I'm not looking at the line anymore. Okay, got that split up. Now, because this is so fat and I've got this level here, it's difficult to scribe this well. I can do it, you know, kind of let it fly by, but there's another way. Okay, so here, the piles came from, I had to scrape the corrosion off of the contact on the batteries to get it to work. Because I tested it the other day and it was working. So this is a level. I'm going to point it towards you because I don't think it's damaging for you guys to see it. And I can actually do vertical and horizontal here. And so I don't need the horizontal right now, but I'll use the vertical, all right? And so what I do now is I'm going to line it up with my mark, and it's got some bubbles here where it's got a bullseye level on it right here, as well as some levels right here, so I can get this perfectly plumb. Okay, so I'm level here on 2 points, and I can just show you what that looks like. So, well, I gotta find where the camera is. See, there's a little level right there, and then these little discs here, you can adjust this whole rig with. I'm gonna back up here and let you see. That's what that looks like, okay? And this is a Johnson Hot Shot. Johnson's a big manufacturer of all kinds of leveling equipment. So, but don't get stuck on that. There's all kinds of levels that you can get. I got this at Home Depot, okay? So you can Google the Johnson Hot Shot and get this exact rig, I guess, or go to Home Depot and see what you can get. But anyway, I'm gonna pull you around here to the other side. I'm basically putting you right next to the level, the laser, so you can see what it's seeing. Just about, yeah, okay. Now, so now what all I have to do is turn the wheel until that bottom line touches my mark right there, and I can scribe this line and I've got a vertical line. Now, sometimes it's hard to do. If you need some assistance, you can get something bendy like this and hold it over there. Because of the nature of what I'm doing here, I'm not really that particular on this being dead on, okay? So I'm gonna scribe this thing freehand right up the line. Now the thing that I don't like about this is that I would like to sit at this head on. And when I sit at it head on, I block the laser. And so I don't. I sit off to the side just a little bit. I suppose I could put the laser in front of me, but then I feel like that would also be kind of encumbering. What I also wanted to show you is another technique. Squeeze a little water into this. And it's nice when the water is just a little bit on the slippy side. And I have here just regular old food coloring, okay? So I'm gonna put some of that into it. And this is just water out of my, the bucket I throw with. Oops. So if you don't want to make the lines, okay, there's a couple of things that you can do. This is one, where I can come along here with this, and I can make a line. Now, I'm not a very painterly guy, and it's not always, it's kind of a struggle for me a little bit to keep a perfect line. It looks like I could use some more food coloring. And you can barely see that. We just need a little bit more. The reason why I do the scribing and the scratch method is because it doesn't affect how my work looks later, and it's faster, okay? Faster, more better. So I'm going to turn that again, line it up, and now is a good time to go, like a bathroom break or soda, or, do your taxes. I don't know, something else, because this is what this is going to look like for a while. Now, what I like about doing this on the wider pieces is that the lines, because they get thinner, wider, thinner, they really accentuate the belly of the piece. And so it's something I really enjoy doing a lot on wider pieces also, because of that ability to help show form. Boy, that's a really wide line there. That's going to be easy to hit. Okay, I'm going to see if I can't do a little better reaching across. Nope, no better. I've used this laser quite a few times actually, especially on larger pieces. It really helps get a perfectly straight line. Even when you use a ruler bent over the piece, it's hard to scribe it and hold it. It's a three-handed job. And this makes it a lot more doable. And now, I feel like we should be done already, and I don't think we're halfway. Nope, not quite. Oy. Okay, so you guys got the general idea there, right? I'm going back to the scribe. All right, that's got my width. And now we're going to do the same process for the horizontal lines. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the laser and move it back out of the way. Okay, and I'm going to a little bit more light there. All right, so I'm going to actually pull this down. Okay, that's got you squared up a little better. Now, I'm going to do the same process as before, but I'm going to start by finding my line first. And hold on, I'm going to take this out of here. I'm going to make sure I'm centered. All right, now I'm going to scribe a line. Right at the top. That's where my top point's going to be. So what I'm going to do now is measure that. Yeah, the brush is a little bit less precise, let's say. So what I'm going to do now is, so the width of this is the width of this, of my, the horizontal is the width of my vertical. And so I'm going to eyeball that. When I start that up. Now, if you can see right there, here's my line now because I'm expanding, right? So what I'll do now is I'll take and I will open that up to the same width and scribe that. Okay, repeat the process. Open it up again, scribe that. And you guys are getting the picture, right? Now another method for doing this is one that, see, we're starting to get more narrow again. And that was a wide one, wasn't it? Yep. And then here, we're going to go back to there. I could make marks right there. Just drag that around. So now we're getting more narrow. So we got to bring it back in. And much more narrow. The wrong way. Okay, so that has got that done. I'm going to raise it back up. Put it on the banding wheel. And I'm going to have the same issue as before with having to get my hand down. And I see. these. Basically, I don't really have implements sitting around to do this with a lot, other than just pots that are sitting around. And so this is going to work out perfectly once I get it on there just a little bit more even. Let's raise you back up since the piece is. All right, so I got you raised back up along with the piece. Now this one's going to be a little bit more difficult to do because the lines are further apart. But I'm not afraid. Mostly because I'm just not that worried about it. Okay. So also what I'm going to do is I'm going to do every other line, okay? And that's kind of how I set up kind of some different patterns for later on. So I'm actually going to stand up or sit down. No, I'm not. Hold on. I'm going to sit higher up. There we go. And I'm still going to have a difficult time. So basically there's some logistics going on because of this belly and how much it moves as to how I'm going to carve it and actually do a decent job. So I'm going to have to, so I'm going to use the tail end of this to kind of get myself a line started. Oops, see, I lost it right there at the bottom. I was pretty close all the way to here. That's better. Let's see how we do. That went better than I thought it would. Okay. Oh boy. Now the question is, do I feel comfortable doing it without a pre-made line? And obviously the answer is no. Oh, that was much nicer. Two. Oh, lost it. Can I do it freehand, do you think? Here we go. I guess it is freehand. It's just I didn't have a pre-made mark, but I didn't want to correct myself in mid-carve. feel like I need to take a deep breath. Okay, I'm gonna move you back over to the other side. Switch hands, and missed that by a mile. That's sort of what that's going to look like. Okay. We're just going to do that. Wasn't terrible. So if you notice, I hold my finger there and then put that down. And this finger works as my depth gauge, allowing this here. See how I can control that a lot? I've got this finger on top, and then this finger is what it rides on. And then I set that at my depth, and then I pull it right like that, using that as a depth gauge. So now I've got the whole thing kind of laid out in a very loose grid, right? And at this point, it's a matter of, do I want to, because this is every other, right? So I could come back in here and tighten this whole thing up a bunch by just doubling up on everything. But what I want to do is do it on some and not on others, okay? So I kind of have fun. What I really like seeing is a lot of these points up here at the top getting really close and tight together. And then letting this kind of expand and then having the same kind of experience down here at the bottom as well. So if I start from here and just do that, that achieves that. And I have that look. And if I want to, then I could come in here and go 1, 2, 1, 2, and put a whole bunch up in here, and then just do a couple down in here. I mean, there's just, the sky is the limit as to how much I can do or not do. So what I think I'm going to do is, let's see, if I came across here, did that, and then this, goes like that, I'm going to start to really get into some of this some more. And then I'll probably come back in here and go again. Because what I'm seeing here is I've got some giant spaces here. And I don't want quite this much space. Even when I come across here, you know, that's going to be a very large square. That isn't too bad, but I don't want things that are this big. So that's about as big as I want to go. So I'm talking myself into going back and redoing, doing all of them. But I'm going to get this going here a little bit. I'm going to do one here now. Hold on, sit tight, don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm going to do one more on this side. You still can't leave yet, okay? Just wait. All right, now I'm going to switch hands. Okay, here we go. Switching hands. I'm going to come back here and catch this side. Okay, same again. Okay, so you can see how we're starting to increase. But now I'm going to double down. Okay, and we're going to go like that. And you can't see that from that angle. Okay, so that's what I did there. Okay, and so now I don't know if I'm going to go every one, so I'm going to still go every other. I'm going to have to put you on something taller. Okay, so you can see now where I've done this one and I've done this one. I might come back and do this one, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull every one of these lines and go ahead and fill them in because I don't like how big that is. So that's gonna be my biggest square. And I'm gonna be pretty, well, it's gonna be this one probably, this one. Actually, that one. That one's gonna be my biggest square. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna keep it running for those of you who just really wanna see the whole process, okay? But I'm gonna go through this whole thing. I'm gonna pull all of these and pull all of these and double everything up right now. And then I'm gonna start filling in things like this. Oops. Nope. Okay, I got them all that way. Going back the other way. think that's everybody. Okay. So now, all right, maybe this will help. So I'm going to go around here, and every other I want to give it a cross. All right. Looks like I'm going to do a kind of a pattern of every other. So generally speaking, so it's like I got this is every other. I do every other one here. I mean, this is pretty simplistic still, okay? It's just kind of like one step beyond what I just did before with a, you know, very geometric, essentially two crossing spirals. Or I could do this and make like diamonds. I'm going to do that. And I don't even know what it'll look like, but I'm going to do it. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm digging that. Okay, now the question is, do I do it all the way or just these? Oh, the decisions. Going all the way. I did the wrong one. Now I've done the wrong one before, and I'll show you what to do. Watch this. So you go, whoops, doggone it, didn't mean to do that one. So just kind of lick it a little bit. Actually, that wasn't enough spit. So I'm going to tap it in the water, stick it right back in there, and rub it, okay? And so far, everything's kind of come out okay. And I'm going to sharpen up those lines right there and right there. And all's well that ends well. Okay, so I've got to do some other things. Oh, sorry, get back on track. So this piece here, I threw last night, and well, actually yesterday afternoon, and it sat out over the night. It turned some during the day because I wanted to get it, you know, drying a little faster because I knew I wanted to do this today. And then I let it sit out overnight because there wasn't the temperature outside and the temperature inside are about the same. When you get a real disparity in temperature between the inside and the outside, the windows cause a lot of convection in the room. And so I don't tend to leave any work out, especially when it's cold out. You can really get stuff leaning bad because I got a wood stove going, and then I got cold windows, and the whole place is just turning over like crazy. But last night, it basically stayed the same temperature as the inside of the building almost the entire night. I knew it was going to when I looked at the weather. And so I decided I would just leave it out, and it didn't lean or have like one shoulder that was more dry than another, and so it did pretty fine that way. But you kind of learn the weather and how it affects your studio and the pots in it also the more you do this. Anyway, my point is, I threw this last night. The piece I carved earlier, the tall, narrow one, I threw almost a month ago, and I had a bunch of that work, and this carving takes a long time to set up and do, and I've done all these art fairs lately, and it has just caused me to not be able to get to it. Now I've been spritzing it and covering it with plastic for weeks. And they both are in the exact same state, and they're both perfect for carving right now. This is, I call this chocolate stage. You know, I know that there's leather hard, but there's a lot of different, you know, conceptions about what leather hard is. But if you had a milk chocolate bar of chocolate, this is about the consistency that I like to trim at. Sorry, carve at. I actually like to trim a little wetter, but I like to carve at this consistency. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a diamond. We're going to close this in by, this is going to be where we cross here. Now I'm going to get you down lower. So I'm basically going to try to mimic this in the inverse. So we're going to go, gosh, my trimming tool is really starting to undercut the carving tool or whatever you want to call this. Okay, so that's what I got going there. And now I got to kind of pay attention and do the same thing all the way around. And at this point, I shouldn't have to think. I should just have to do. But I might have to think, I might need to think a little bit. It might be a good thing. I ended up licking a bunch of these things. What I like about doing this is it just like, if you just try to, if you leave one out the next time, I mean, it's different and still similar and fun to do. I thought I messed it up for a second. Got messed up. Look at that, I made it back to the starting line. There's something about how this blade is starting to bend on me. Don't know if it's bad that it undercuts. So, the question is, do I want to leave these? And I don't think I do. So go back and get those. Okay, so now I got to catch these. Uh-oh. My tool just broke. Okay. So, what to do now? All right. And now we have the trusty dolman. This is going to be an adjustment. These, obviously they don't break as often, and they're harder to pull through the clay because they're coarser, they're thicker, it's thicker steel. I was wondering if that tool would break before I got done. I've had it for quite some time. In all fairness, too, Diamond Core tools, all right? I've had that over a year. Okay, so got a pretty good deal going on here. We ended up with like a zigzaggy thing going on here with the narrow stuff with some nice little in-betweens. We got some in-betweens going on here. And now it's just a matter of continuing the process. And to do that, I'm gonna flip this over. I don't have to come at it from the underside angle. Well, let's hope I don't mess it up. But I think the right thing to do is, I left that from that point, which means this leaves from this point. So this one gets done. I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That should do it. Okay. So we're going to go like this. If the worst comes to worst, and I screwed this up, like royally screwed this up, okay, I could go back and just do all of them. And, you know, fill in every single square. Because basically, you know, the ones that I'm creating a pattern with, out of the pattern that it was already there, I'm just cutting them all in half. Now there's been some other ones where I've done some diagonals and some different shapes. But we're starting with the basics here and moving on from there. All right, now we got to fill in these. Okay, now it should be that I only do this one, but my gut tells me to do this one. Let's turn it the way we'll look at it. According to the pattern, I should do this. going to stay with the pattern. And I'll bet half of you disagree with me. And I could have gone the other way and been fine with it. Okay, that is that. So when you see this now, it still hasn't been scrubbed good. And I could get a sponge here. We'll do a little bit, okay? I'm gonna get some yellow water on it. Okay. And so basically all I'm doing is when I do this is I knock down the edges. And ooh, that's some stinky water. That's all I'm doing here. Is what I don't like is making this, I don't like showing my work, okay? I don't like it looking quite so much like it's carved as opposed to it was born this way. And so I like my edges knocked down. And it's only a little bit that I have to do it because I'm going to be spraying it with that overspray. But it gives you a little bit better sense of how everything's going to pan out. And especially, and see, like, that's why I'm saying it, I'll get rid of a lot of the lines this way. And you don't get rid of them all. See, there's still little scritchies here that if I was doing porcelain with a Celadon glaze over this or something, and I was really doing a really tight design and wanting everything to be perfect and plumb and 90-degree angles and all that, I probably would use the food coloring. You can also use a Sharpie if you want to, but what I find with the Sharpies is they got to be brand new and they still dry. It's like as the clay goes around, it's like it's drying the thing out and it doesn't always leave a very good line. So the concept, the idea of them, when you first touch them to the clay, it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And it's really not that awesome. What we need is like a food coloring pen would be perfect. I'm sure that exists. I might have to actually Google that. Okay, good idea, Danny. Yeah, I'll bet there's people listening right now that know what I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, I know where you can get that. So just let me know if you do. So that gives you kind of a better idea of how this is going to look, but it's going to get a lot more done to it. But you know, these start to look like little bits, and these start to look like bigger bits rather than geometric lines that have been cut into the piece. And the slip's going to soften it a bunch. All right, so that is the carving video. That's the basis of how I set things up. And I really feel like what I do isn't that important. It's this grid that I get on there so that I can make decisions that to create pattern or not make pattern, or you know, however I want to do it. I mean, you can do freehand. I've also do freehand carving as well, No grid, no nothing, and it's just kind of like wavy, curvy, groovy stuff. Okay, and but anyway, the grid system is what I wanted to show you, and now you've seen it, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.